What's up, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Believe in Falcons. I am your host, Will McFadden, joined as always by former Falcons fullback Ovie Mughelli, and we will get into the football in just a sec because, big Falcons win we got to talk about. But I want to start out and ask you, Ovie, how's your Thanksgiving, man? What'd you get up to?
Oh, well, I appreciate that. It was good. We went to my sister's house, and we, there's always got to be something at Thanksgiving. The food was great, and it's the silliest thing sometimes with families that people get up in a tizzy about. It was like I feel like I was in a Lifetime family movie. So I brought my dog Asher, and he met my brother's fiance's dog Gabby, and I thought it'd be fun because everyone bringing their animals. My sister has two cats, and so my dog was sniffing Gabby like dogs do. I didn't think there was a problem, but my brother's girlfriend was just really annoyed. I guess her dog's older, so she got annoyed that my dog was being too friendly with her dog, and then my brother got annoyed that she was annoyed, and we went into one of those things where get your dog away from my dog, and then we all like got so tight, and everyone thought it was gonna be a huge blow up. They're like, "What are we doing here? We're arguing about dogs." And then we got a big hug. It was a nice kumbaya moment, but it was a fun, typical Mahaley Thanksgiving where something happens to give it some extra life and drama. Because having a smooth, easy Thanksgiving is too smooth and too easy. But besides that, the food was great. Sweet potato pie was great. Pumpkin pie was great. The fried turkey was amazing, and I enjoyed seeing the fam. How about you?
Very much the same. It's actually kind of crazy because we too had
Your dog's your brother's girlfriend's dog and your dog got into a fight. That
we
same thing
did
happened.
so we did have four dogs at one location, and so we basically were all going to get together. And my aunt and uncles, they have kind of like a cabin farm get up in
Cool.
Florida where they just have a big property of land, but it's more of like the ride ATVs, dirt bikes kind of setup than it is like a
Ooh.
farm or like but in the woods. So everybody was coming down, had everybody's dog. We get there, and I guess my cousin, who is 13, apologies Simmons if I got your age wrong, but she basically found a puppy the day that they got
Oh
there, who was maybe 2-3 months old, little like kind of bulldog pit bull
no.
mix. This dog, we depending on who you asked, its name was either Biscuit or Little Dog, or we had some Panthers fans down there. They wanted to name it Keekly. So
No.
just no name yet. I think Biscuit is what they're going to go with. But this dog was mixing it up, man. Like this dog was a little mighty Morphin Power Ranger, kind of like keeping up with all of the much bigger dogs. Because they got after it a lot, and
Awesome.
little puppy just coming biting the jowls of all the bigger dogs and hanging in there. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is about the two of us, but Thanksgiving very dog centric this
Yes.
year. But like you, it was a great time, good chance to see the family. Definitely some weird shenanigans that took place there as well. So um, much like yours in that aspect, also. But let's get into some football right after this quick break. All right, Ovi, enough about families and Thanksgivings and dogs. That is all in the past. We're here to talk about winning football teams. And today, thankfully, that includes the Atlanta Falcons, who knocked off the Jacksonville Jaguars 21-14 on the road. 2 turnovers in the win. You love to see that, an interception and a forced fumble strip sack. More importantly, and we're going to touch on this, I'm going to let you take the reins. Ran for 149 yards, and Cordarrelle Patterson, we've learned, is the Falcons offense. 16
Yeah.
carries, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. The microphone is yours, Ovie Mughelli. Talk about your guy.
Oh my gosh. Cordarrelle Patterson. I said it before. I'll say it again. They need to go ahead and just build a statue right now, whether he stays with the team or
Yeah,
not.
they
Like
do.
his statue needs to be somewhere. They can put it at the facility. If they want to put it at the stadium, they can put that practice facility somewhere. Put it in his
They
house.
should put it in the end
This
zone. That's where that's
They
where
can
he
put it in the end
lives.
zone. That'd be very apropos for what he's done for this team. It is such an amazing, and I am so excited for him. Turn of events for him to be not only this dynamic, this influential, this timely, but to be all these things consistently. Like
Hmm.
consistently, when Cordarrelle Patterson is on the field, he's going to get you almost said buckets. He's going to get you touchdowns. He's going to get you yards. He's going to get you first downs. He's going to get you big time plays. I still can't believe the the last play against the Saints. Like we beat the Saints. Like that, it's still not something that I'm having trouble understanding because I remember I was collapsing at the end. Then that we had like one or two plays left that dropped that dime that Matt Ryan and Cordarrelle Patterson made happen, and
Yeah.
he took it 60, 70, a bunch of yards. That happened. That's not usual for us. And that's the type of big play mentality that he has and that he can actually execute on. So watching him go off this game for 100 plus yards was it's just exciting. It just kind of confirmed what everyone already kind of knew. When he's not there, we have a rough time scoring points, which is not good for us. And it's great for Cordarrelle Patterson because he's going to get that money this offseason from somebody, hopefully from us. But we need to make sure we have an offense that if one guy goes down, we don't turn it to nothing.
Right. And I mean, to your point about the Cordarrelle Patterson kind of New Orleans play, because he did something very similar today. He has the best kind of balance on the sidelines of anybody I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
He routinely is going to slip out of these kind of tackles when there's the margin for error is like centimeters and
yeah,
still manages to stay and tiptoe down the sidelines and turn kind of maybe a 5 yard gain into a 25-yard gain. Because if you're on the sideline with space in front of you, that's the furthest possible distance for a defender to run. It's why coaches and defensive coordinators do those drills in practice where you got to run all the way and
yep.
touch the runner as he's running down the sideline. It's to
I hate
prepare
that
them
drill.
for things like this. But no, Cordarrelle Patterson, I mean, he does it in every single way, right? Like that Saints game, lined up wide, boom, beat his guy one-on-one, made a great catch. Today, running right up the middle on a fullback ISO for a 12-yard touchdown run. I mean, Keith Smith is really playing well right now as well. I mean, he was getting some love. You saw he mushed
Yeah.
the Dolphins defender, mushed him in his face, Ovie.
Yeah, no, it was an angry run. I know. I think on NFL Network they have a segment called "Angry Runs," and it was just such a great angry run. Catches the ball. I loved it in slow motion too. Catches the ball, turning. Gave a 1-2 shoulder shimmy shake and just mushed that guy's head straight into the ground and kept moving. That was beautiful because fullbacks who are athletic and just ball players are the ones I love. The ones that can
Yeah,
still mash somebody up. Have a awesome pancake block, but still be effective on the short yardage game or in the short passing game. And that was what he's displayed there. So Keith, he gives this man his flowers. While he's here on the team, don't wait for him to be gone. Like, that Keith was pretty decent. He was a good fullback. No, make sure this man knows how much he's appreciated. And so, not like Mike Davis can say much because no one's interviewing Mike Davis. He's not as much of a force as I would like, but Cordarrelle Patterson gives him a couple of a little bit of love here and there. But you should really talk about when Keith's in about how he's helping you guys run the ball.
yes, and it's not just Keith Smith, although he is a huge part of it because he's got to either clear the path or continue to stretch along that outside zone and seal the edge. But I think by and large, just a night and day performance for Atlanta's run game as a whole from where it's
Yeah,
been the past couple of weeks. And that takes everybody. I mean, maybe I'll say 10 guys. Matt Ryan's not doing a ton, but he's got to get the ball
no,
in there. He's got to get the ball in the breadbasket. But I thought the offensive line just played so well
they did.
blocking. They really looked cohesive. Everybody was moving. There was really only kind of one or two plays that I noticed where somebody truly just kind of got beat or didn't get the right
Mm-hmm.
leverage on their guy. But outside of that, I mean, I think it was very clear that the Falcons went into this practice week focused on getting the run game going. And Arthur Smith kind of said he was asked why he was confident that the run game could get turned around, and he likened it back to 2018. And he was like, revisionist history makes it seem like Tennessee always had an amazing run game, but there were a lot of times in 2018 when we were trying to install and implement what we wanted to do, where
Yeah,
it wasn't all clicking, and there were some bad plays and blown up things in the backfield, and it just wasn't working. But we stuck to it, and it just takes time for guys to really get those reps and get it ingrained and work
yeah,
together cohesively. And he said, I really believe that the Falcons could be kind of on a similar trajectory where maybe they make that next jump. And if that happens, Ovi, I mean, what does that mean for this offense if they can now kind of change and start relying on the run game when their pass game, which we'll get to in one sec, still isn't, where I think a lot of people hoped it would be.
Yeah. It would mean what Matt Ryan at his age should always have. Every elite quarterback wants a great run game. Every, good quarterback wants to be able to have their play action draw the linebackers in because there is an actual threat of the run. And Matt Ryan has, hasn't had that for the longest time because our run game hasn't scared anybody. It hasn't, no one's staying awake at night worrying about the Falcons' run game for the majority of this season. But with Cordarrelle Patterson and the offensive line, because you're absolutely right, they were coming off the ball. They were like, a bunch of steamrollers getting under pads and moving bodies. It's great to see. It's like a rising tide. You can see all those jerseys kind of just walling off and slowly creating different levels and different gaps. And I love it when it's really a work of art for those of us who really watch the linemen and watch what happens in the trenches. A solid double team on a defensive tackle and then working up to the linebacker and actually getting him is one of the hardest things ever. I used to, in the Baltimore system, I played tight end for a little bit. Well, it was H-back. They had me at H-back. They were doing all types of crazy stuff, and I hated it. Lining up at tight end position, I hate it. I can't get a running start. But when you're able to, as my H-back self, work with a tackle, double team a big defensive lineman, and then get to that second level and do that correctly, it is a work of art. And the Falcons were doing that time and time again and giving Cordarrelle Patterson and a couple times Mike Davis a chance to not get touched for 2 or 3 yards, which never happens for the Falcons. There's always guys, doing spin moves in the backfield because they're getting knocked down, they're getting pressure and getting penetration. So if the Falcons can get back to old school bully ball in the run game, that means everything for Atlanta. And as you mentioned, we need this now more than ever and can really be a force to potentially have a nice playoff run. So I really feel like this is something that could work for the team.
I know offensive linemen would probably be the first to say, no, do not make this comparison. But what you just mentioned with double teaming up to the second level is so like a choreographed dance. Like it's like dancing with a partner because you have to time it correctly. You have to understand and kind of feel the presence of the other person, understand what they're going to try to do, and then time it all perfectly to make sure that they're not sliding off too early before you don't have kind of your right lever. Like you've got to bump him off to the next level. But if you don't do that quick enough, he's going to miss his window to get the linebacker. So it's got to be perfectly timed. And that's the balance. That's why it takes so much practice to get these guys.
If you leave too early, then your guys, the defensive tackle is going to get right to the quarterback. If you leave too late, you're not going to get your linebacker. He's going to go over the top and tackle the running back clean. It's just you have to have that mind meld where you understand exactly what the other guy's thinking. You can actually feel, you say your eyes were closed, you can be able to feel exactly what to do and when to do it. And the Falcons, they got in that, that sweet spot. They got in that zone for a little bit, and it was nice to watch because, again, as a fullback and a connoisseur of a well-working run game, it was poetry in motion at times. At times.
It was, and it was very much needed. And it's awesome to see that, it's encouraging, I think, by and large, for the most part, across any fan base, when you say a season is about progress and about getting better, you need to see examples of things getting better. And I think that the run game today is a sign that if Arthur Smith kind of says, look, we know that we need to get better here, but we're focused on trying to improve in that area, now he's got an example to point to say, look, we really focused on the run game, came out and ran all over Jacksonville and got him going. And of course, Cordarrelle Patterson, huge hand in that. Without him, who's to say? Maybe it doesn't happen. But I do think they need to probably now go and figure out what's up with their passing game because it's not been really threatening at all over the last few weeks. And I think Russell Gage had a good game today. I mean, we should note 6 catches, 62 yards, caught that touchdown pass. That was huge. I mean,
Yeah.
that they were able to connect on some big plays through the air. And maybe they felt they didn't need to when you're running the ball like they were. That it was clearly an emphasis. They wanted to come in. The strength of their team right now is not their outside weapons. So there's only so much Matt Ryan can do. He didn't have a great game, but he didn't have a bad game. The one thing I want to ask you though is there any
Turn it down, turn it off. Jesus Christ. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
the one thing I want to ask you though is there any percent of you that is concerned about Kyle Pitts and what we've seen from him now the last couple of weeks when teams clearly just can take him away if they choose to do so?
No, there's no concern. I think watching Kyle Pitts do what he did against decent defenses, his 100-yard games weren't against slouches, and it wasn't because they just messed up every single time he caught the ball. He showed that sometimes even in double coverage, he was able to get separation, use his big body, a la Tony Gonzalez, and kind of box people out, make some really tough catches, show that he has some great hands. A couple of these catches were one-handed. I know that Kyle Pitts can be a 100-yard game guy consistently. I just also know that when he's double teamed the majority of the time, and when people know that Russell Gage ain't scaring people, Lamine Zaccheaus ain't scaring people, Tajay Sharp ain't scaring people, Kyle Pitts, his potential, his ceiling is so high, he can maybe scare people with the potential that he has, and that's why they're going to try to take him away first. So I'm not worried about Kyle getting back, into the swing of things and being that top guy. Calvin Ridley should be here, or Calvin Ridley-esque type of guy. So his rookie year, he doesn't have to shoulder the whole load, but it is what it is. So I think that with time, the season is a work in progress. No one's expecting us to go to the Super Bowl this year, and no one's even expecting us to make the playoffs this year. If we do, great, but this is more of a developmental season where Kyle Pitts needs to, I think, understand how to play in the NFL and how to play while being the guy. Because next year, he's no more training wheels. Take those off if they aren't off already.
Yeah,
he's going to be the guy and going to be someone that we rely on heavily.
I'm kind of like of two minds when it comes to this, because I completely agree with everything that you just said. And I bring this question up, not so much because I believe it, but I do think that there are probably some people out there in the fan base who are, kind of saying, well, wait, I thought Kyle Pitts was supposed to just be like the next most amazing thing ever. And now this is kind of yet another game where we're into the third quarter and it's kind of like, well, he doesn't have a catch yet. What's happening?
Yeah. It's weird.
But what you said is very important, because it is his potential that is still allowing the Falcons to kind of do some of the other things I think that they want to do. And they're in a lot of ways lucky that teams are already as afraid, I think, of Kyle Pitts as they are, because on the one hand, it could be, look, he's really the only guy that we're afraid of, so we're just going to take him away, even though maybe on the grand spectrum of anywhere from Aaron Donald to the worst player in the NFL, like maybe he's not in that upper echelon yet, but he's the best you guys have, so we're going to just take him away because that's what all teams want to do. But with Cordarrelle Patterson there now, I think it's clear that he's been their most effective player, Patterson, but teams are still choosing to focus on Pitts.
Easily.
And so I think that that's kind of the sign of respect that we're seeing from these teams. I think the fourth down catch that he made, or third, was it fourth down? I think it was fourth down, over the middle, that slant. Hands catch, brought it in, double coverage, got hit. Huge play. I mean, it's not that Kyle Pitts doesn't make big plays. He does. It's that he doesn't impact, I think, the game in its totality as much as maybe fans would expect. He's not getting the lion's share of targets, of looks. And I wonder if part of that is Matt Ryan, still kind of learning to trust him. Where is he going to be? We've now seen a couple of interceptions that Matt's thrown while targeting Kyle Pitts. But on the flip side, if you're really this generational talent and you're really this good, then I need you to impact the game even when teams are trying to take you away. That is what special players do. And I know that he's a rookie.
Yeah.
I know he's learning, but I even question a little bit about like some of his route running that I saw today. It doesn't look as polished, and I get that. Like he's a rookie. He's gone into this really with no real offseason at all to speak of. He was training.
No.
He had a breakout year last year. This has been a whirlwind kind of 18 months for Kyle Pitts. And oh yeah, there was a whole pandemic during the midst of all of that. So I'm willing to give him a break and cut him all of the slack in the world because he's still 25th overall in receiving yards in the entire NFL. So he's doing fine, guys. But just wanted to bring it up because I think that we want to see another Kyle Pitts kind of breakout takeover game. Maybe it'll come next week against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I think one thing, it's the elephant in the room that we haven't even mentioned on this wonderful podcast we have. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars, William. It's the freaking Jacksonville Jaguars. Everything has to be taken with a grain of salt. Our run game was much better, but again, it was the Jaguars defense, Jaguars linebackers, Jaguars defensive backs, and their coaching staff. So it's something that I have learned with these Falcons to understand how to pull things back and have perspective when we look at things. I definitely know that we still could have lost this game. As much as I say the Jaguars are just the Jaguars, they're an NFL team. They're a good team, but we have many more problems that were not brought up because of the fact that our talent was so inferior. We were joking a little bit to say, "Hey, the Falcons won. We're great. We're back, baby. We're good." And you're like, "Nah, we're better than the Jaguars." So let's not say we're back and we're great. We're good, but we're better than the Jaguars. So I think that we have something good to talk about there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Give me one second.
Go for it.
Oh, Lord Jesus. I'm like, Bossy, leave. No, I'll be real quiet. like you see your peanut gallery comments.
Have a guest on the podcast.
You're the worst player. That's okay. All right, so I don't know where to pick up. Sorry about that.
No, I got it.
Good luck editing that stuff out.
No, it'll be easy.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah, but do you remember the last thing that you said? It was it was just we were talking about Jacksonville. I can get it.
Jaguars. I'll say it's the Jaguars. But saying
I'll pick it up.
They're a good team, or we're a good team. No, we're just better than the Jaguars.
Right. Yes, absolutely. I mean, we should very much and mention right up at the top that this is Jacksonville, and but frankly, I mean, outside of the Saints game, and I think it's fair to question now at this point, how much is that Saints game worth? This clearly is not the Saints team of the last 5 years that was constantly, the number 2 seed in the NFC. The Falcons have gotten their wins against the mediocre teams in the NFL. But by and large, in 2020, the pool of mediocre teams, I think, is as big as it's been in a while. There's a huge middle class in both conferences, AFC and NFC. You're seeing a lot of teams in that 5-6, kind of 6-5 range or worse, that 4-7, but like a lot of teams are still in the thick of it, and we're in December. If there's one reason why I'm cautiously optimistic about the Falcons' chances of maybe being among the better of those middling teams as, the season continues to get colder, I think their defense for the second straight game played a really good game. And I think that we are starting to see some younger players kind of come into their own and impact the game in different ways. And I think that we saw guys like Ade Ogundeji continues to play really well as a rookie. I think Arthur Smith called him a quiet professional today after the game, which I'm obviously totally don't know this for a fact, but judging Arthur Smith, I feel like that's one of the highest compliments like he could give somebody. Just a
Yeah.
quiet professional, the type of coach that is no nonsense. Like you want a building full of quiet professionals. Just go about their job, don't cause any drama, and get it done. Ade is doing that. I think Darren Hall for the second straight game is showing why he should maybe be on the field a little bit more. AJ Terrell again continues to be
Yeah.
an absolute superstar out there. Grady Jarrett made some plays. Dante Fowler got back to it. Michael Walker led the team in tackles while filling in for Deion Jones. So we're seeing this defense now start to be productive. And yes, again, it's Jacksonville, rookie quarterback. I do think James Robinson did run over the Falcons kind of when he wanted to, but
Yep.
they held Jacksonville 0 for 2 on fourth down, 1 and 3 in the red zone, and more importantly, all three of those red zone trips got into goal to goal scenarios. So they were still 1 of 3, allowed just one touchdown on goal to goal scenarios out of the 3 that Jacksonville had. So I think that the defense is learning to play situational football, I think, really well. They're timing their blitzes in key situations. They're playing man defense really well in the secondary when they have to. What did you think of Atlanta's defense today?
I thought that they've been getting better, and I said this is just Jacksonville, but it's a trend because even though the last game against the Patriots was rough, 25-0, Falcons defense only allowed 19 points, a touchdown. They had an interception, 3 sacks, and you realize that wow, against the Patriots, which is a good offense, it's not the Jaguars. They did their job for the most part,
Yeah.
and offense couldn't do a dang thing, and they carried that I think that mentality that we watch film and we're not a bad defense. We play bad more often than not, but we can be an average to above average defense, and they kind of went with that theme against the Jaguars. You're absolutely right. Grady Jarrett is obviously your superstar on defense, the guy on the posters, the one who you can count on day in day out, and like Arthur Smith said, he's a quiet guy you can rely on. But he was disruptive, very not quiet when it came to making Trevor Lawrence have some errant throws and making him feel pressured. And it was nice seeing them kind of shake things up a bit because our defense has never been our just like our running game. Our defense, our running game has never been our real landmark or something that we hang our hats on. And if we can slowly find ways through Dean Pease's scheme to make our defense a little more dangerous when we're not playing the Jaguars against average teams and good teams, it just gives us a chance. So everyone has to raise their game for us to even sneak into the playoffs, for us to even, if we sneak into the playoffs to get one win, I've seen it happen before. That sets you up for the next year to where you can have expectations and guys with playoff experience and young guys who want to get back there and want to, now that we have a whole year to work on us and know where we're at, let's win it all. Not that I think we'll be ready to win it all next year. I think at least 2 years. But who knows what our GM is going to do? Who knows who we bring in? Who knows when we have more time to build our team, what can happen? So it's a little bit exciting. I've stopped giving myself super hope and stopped being crazy optimistic because I know how that works. And the Falcons have broken my heart way too many times. But I feel like it could become really interesting if we can get our defense continue to improve the way they're doing it.
Yes, and you use the word dangerous kind of in the middle of that there. And not that I think that the Falcons are a dangerous team now or really, close to being a super dangerous team. But if I was going to make the case of, why the Falcons could become a dangerous team, before all is said and done, if I'm gonna kind of look for a dark horse team, naturally, I think my mind goes to what is a team that's adapting to a new situation, and with a new coaching staff, with new coordinators on both sides of the ball, everything is different. New players are in here, kind of like Tampa Bay last year. All year
Yeah.
long, this is a learning process. This is guys getting more comfortable with the players around them, with the guys communicating, with the coordinators and the way that they coach and the way that their leadership styles, with tendencies on either side of the ball. Like everything that these guys have been a little bit comfortable with over the last 5 years with Dan Quinn and Raheem Morris and all of these guys in place who are familiar, now they're learning. And so I think that is why the message of just incremental improvement, get better each week. But for a team like the Falcons, if the light clicks on at some point, I think that the jump they could make relative to a team maybe in year 2 or 3 with a coach like the Colts or some team like that, I feel like the Falcons may have a higher gear ceiling to hit, because if everybody does finally, if it makes sense to them like it did with the run game today, that really could boost a lot of key areas for this team. And I think we're seeing it on the defensive side of the ball, because I think that this scheme is a little bit harder. I think it is a little more complicated, which is probably why we didn't see some of these younger players earlier on like we thought we would. We didn't see Richie Grant very much. We're just now starting to see Darren Hall. I think that what they're being asked to do in Dean Pease's scheme, I think he wants to trust veterans to do it early on. But now it seems like he's starting to trust the young guys. And these guys are clearly very eager and excited to get out there and show what they can do. And I think that's going to be like a rising tide lifting all boats type of effect, is getting this energy, this enthusiasm. It's almost like a reverse rookie wall. You're letting your young guys loose now. So it is. Have you ever been a part of a team like that, where it kind of, you started the year maybe not knowing what you had, and then you found it, and then you really realized, oh no, like actually there may be something real here. Like we can be something. Maybe like that 2008 team.
Yeah, that was a good point. Our 2008 team, that first year we had Mike Smith. We didn't know who we were or what we would be. We knew that we had something, because at least for me and the guys who were there with Bobby Petrino, and then we had Mike Smith, we knew that the energy was absolutely different. It was a real NFL coach with real NFL coordinators, and we had real NFL meetings. So we knew that the professionalism was light years from what we had. But we weren't sure that after training camp and OTAs we would be a dominant team or a team that could win games continuously. And as we got near the end of the last quarter of the season, no one was expecting us to go to the playoffs. No one was expecting us to go to the playoffs. I mean, after the Mike Vick dog situation and the carousel of Joey Harrington, Byron Leftwich, and Chris Redmond, still love Red. He's still the best out of the group. But we weren't supposed to do anything except for just, be there, play ball, get through the season. And we snuck into the playoffs because, kind of like how you mentioned, we figured out our roles. We figured out how to take full advantage of the schemes. We figured out how to mesh well with each other. And there's one thing to practice, but to have that game experience and to have that belief really plays a part. And we snuck into the playoffs. We lost the first game, but just being into the playoffs was exciting. It really it goes back to what I said before, which is why there are some people, and I'm on the fence about this. Like, hey, let's lose games and let's get a higher draft pick. I'm like, yeah, we could do that because even if we get to the playoffs, we're not going to the Super Bowl. But there's so much value in the experience and the confidence of winning games late in the season that you can bring into next year. So, I think that 2008 season was a great example. I think the Arizona Cardinals who we played and lost to, I believe so. And
it was.
It was fun. It was nice, but it was something I think everyone took from and used it the next time we got in the field the year following.
And I think that you could point at that Arizona game as a time when I think the team, because if I remember correctly, it was a competitive game. Nobody expected the Falcons to really kind of give the Cardinals anything. And it was a fourth down conversion, I think, or maybe a third down conversion the Cardinals made over Keith Brooking. And it was at that point when I think the organization realized that they needed to maybe move on from a team legend, a team icon in Keith Brooking, but they needed to get faster on defense.
Yeah, and love Keith, but you're absolutely right, because Keith was in the third and fourth quarter, he was having trouble keeping up with some of these younger, quicker, faster running backs and receivers, and they did do that. We were close. We were absolutely close, but it's something that I think kind of stayed with a lot of the younger players and even guys who are
midway through their careers where they said, okay, we got a real coach. We got a real team. We can really do this. Let's go. It gave us confidence to work even harder in the offseason.
And it's possible that the Falcons currently find themselves in kind of a similar mindset, a similar point in time for the organization. And let's take a look at where the Falcons actually are kind of in the playoff picture. But first, one more quick break. All right, so now with the Falcons winning today, they move back to 5-6. So one more win, and they'll be back to 500 again, Ovie, and we can talk about if they can get over the hump for the third time I think so far this year.
Yes, yes.
So that's a tradition that we look forward to every other week. But yeah, I mean, I think that Atlanta winning today puts them right back on the fringe of where everything falls. San Francisco, I'm looking at this now as we're recording, knocked off Minnesota. So they held on to win that late afternoon game. Both of those teams were 5-5. So Minnesota is now tied with Atlanta at 5-6. San Francisco is 6-5. But I think Atlanta is tied right there for that wild card spot. Obviously, a lot of football left to play, 6 games for the Falcons. So that is all going to change. But more importantly, Panthers dropped a game, 5-7 now. Saints lost on Thanksgiving, so they're 5-6. Bucks won. That was a great game with the Colts. They're up to 8-3. But at this point, it's less about the division. But the Falcons are now second in the division for what that's worth. I mean, they've got the tiebreak over the Saints, and they have the better record than the Panthers at this point. So
that's so crazy to me. We haven't been playing second in division football.
No, we haven't. But it's like Matt Ryan said after the game. December is here, and the Falcons are in the mix. And it is. I do think it's impossible to kind of not draw some comparisons to the 2008 season. New direction for the organization. Obviously, not a new franchise quarterback in here, but a new offensive kind of centerpiece in Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Just a very different way of doing things. Big culture shift like that was from Petrino to Smitty. So a lot of comparisons. All it takes is to be in the mix. If you're in the mix, you got a shot. And I think that that's what the Falcons mindset has kind of been all season long. It was, if we can get to December and still be in the mix, for a lot of the reasons I highlighted earlier, I think that they could become a dangerous team. What do you think the Falcons have to do? Because they've shown they can beat bottom dwellers like Jacksonville, like Miami, like New York, both of them. But next game is a rematch against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who I just mentioned on the road, beat a really good Colts team in a really good game. What do the Falcons have to do based on kind of what you saw today to show that they can compete with good teams? Maybe not win on Sunday, maybe not yet, but at least kind of give them a game deep into the fourth quarter, kind of like they did, frankly, the first time they played, if that had just continued on. But what do they need to improve upon and continue to do to really compete and take that next step?
I would like nothing more for us than for us to actually give Tampa Bay a run for their money, because they don't expect it. I've been on Tampa Bay-ish teams when we're 13-3 and we're playing bad, even mediocre teams, because we're an elite team, and we know if you don't come with it, you don't have a chance. And of course, we don't look past any team, because it's the NFL. Anything can happen on any given Sunday. But we expect to beat every team, but especially these bottom dwellers. And that's how Tampa Bay is looking at us. So to surprise them and surprise Tom Brady's smug behind, it'd be something that Falcons fans would really enjoy watching, especially after he was on that team that beat us for that darn Super Bowl. It's something that we have to really understand, that it's more than just the coaches putting us in positions to succeed. It's about us stopping to stop taking turns making mistakes. With the offensive line, when the run game's not clicking, it's guys taking turns making mistakes. So it's my bad, and sorry about that, and I'll get him next time. And he just got around me with a move. You can ask Mike Turner, Jerry Snow, Jason Snelling, any of the guys in the running back meet room. I was all about perfect play Fridays. Perfect play Friday. That's when we have shorts on and helmets, and we're getting ready to walk through everything. And it's about just assignments. I knew physically I was going to be good enough. I was going to manhandle the guy I worked in the offseason. I knew I was strong enough, but it was perfect play Fridays because the game is mostly mental. And if you're not tied in or dialed in all the way, I hate saying 110%, but 110%, you have to be there and then some for your technique, what you do if this happens, understanding the audibles, being able to, in your head, kind of visualize everything, watch all the film you can watch, be able to, predict their move before they do it. If you're not in that mode to the player, you can't get better because the great teams have, even their quote unquote worst player is busting their ass trying to figure out how they can find a way to contribute. And the Falcons need to get in that mode. So I think it's the little things, it's the intangibles that is really going to allow us to elevate, because we can only be as good as we can be with the talent we have. But if everyone commits themselves to raising their game in any way possible, that allows us to be competitive against the better teams.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Perfect Play Friday. Perfect Play Friday. Be there and then some.
That's pretty much. I mean, I was so annoying about it because I would say, all right, let's do it again. No, we don't run the play. No, let's do the play again, especially when it was just the offense going through the scout defense. I would go to Matt. I was like, hey, Matt, I messed it up. Let's run it again. I want to make sure, I tried. I went inside. It's always just a feel thing. Like I try to read it and see if I cut up inside to get to the linebacker, or do I bounce it outside to get to the linebacker, and Mike usually follows me. And when I make the wrong decision, it just bothers me. And it's more of understanding so much about seeing the whole field, even though I'm still crouched down, be able to see the whole field, know where the safeties are, and kind of just let your body do the rest. When a running back, they cut, sometimes they don't decide what to do. Their body tells them what to do based on the environment. It's just skill. It's just reaction. And to have my body so conditioned on what to do on each play and understand who I'm playing against and the situation, that's when things get fun. And so the Perfect Play Fridays, it became a thing all the RBs try to do, because I was like, hey, every single play today, perfect. How about you? Huh? J-Rock? Mike T, what you got? Huh? Anton, you? Okay, I'm one person's perfect here? All right, good. Just want to make sure. Just me. But no, I think the Falcons have some sort of guy in there pushing them to be better. It's going to help everybody.
I'll have you know, when I run the ball in Madden, I too do it by feel. It's not a thinking thing for me. I'm just vibing. I'm in the moment, and
it makes sense.
Inside, outside. What's that? Oh, outside. Let's go.
It makes sense.
No, and that's kind of to my point, where for a team that's getting used to the new scheme, the new coach, the new way of doing everything, that once that does click, and I think we saw today what it could look like when it really does, because the blocking was, Cordarrelle Patterson's touchdown run wasn't, yes, he runs hard, and I trust that he could have run over a safety if he needed to. He didn't have to. That thing was blocked, and a wide open hole in the A gap opened up for him. That's as easy as it gets, and it's why it's a testament to the improvement that I think this team is trying to make weekly. And they have a big test coming up, and we're obviously going to talk a lot more about that in our podcast on Friday with the Buccaneers. But beating a team like that cements every single thing that Arthur Smith and his staff have been preaching to these guys throughout the year, because you saw them in week 2, you lost by double digits, you feel like you've been getting better, your record has been right there, you're in the hunt. If you go in and then knock off Tampa Bay, that is huge. That's huge for this team.
David Goliath. Right. We have nothing to lose, really. We have something to lose, but it's no one expects us to win this game. No one expects us to win almost every game. But I think that with that mentality, we can go out there and just swing for the fences. So I'm excited to see what they do. Again, not get my hopes up at all, because this Falcons team let a bad Jaguars team come back in the fourth quarter, as they always do. Literally, the here we go again were filling my Twitter feed, and I'm just like, this is unfortunate that we just don't have that killer instinct to put teams away. When we're up 1, 2, almost 3 touchdowns, you shouldn't be always letting them come back in. And we have permission to do that.
No, I agree with you. And I was really thinking kind of midway through that game, my mindset was already going towards this conversation, and I was going to kind of be coming at it from the angle of like, was this the most complete game that we've seen Atlanta play? Because to that point, 14-0, the offense, I was like, okay, if they can double this up in the second half and maybe it's 28-7, that would be a really good game. It didn't play out like that. But yes, they're letting some of these leads get tighter. Some of that, I think, is just the nature of the NFL, of just the way that the game kind of works and the way that coaches do certain things in certain moments. The 3rd and 22, that's inexcusable. That's on the players. That's not on DPs. But more importantly, the Falcons are finding ways to still win these games. The games that they've blown these leads, they've actually still won them, which is weird to say. But I mean, you think of that Giants game, you think of the Dolphins game today, the Saints game. I mean, all wins, and even the Jets game got a little bit tight there, but they found a way to win it. So that is where it should be very encouraging, because you've gone from a team that found every single way to lose to now one that is sure, you're not stomping on these teams' throats the minute that you get them on the mat, but I don't even know if we should expect that from this team at this point. No. I mean, we're sitting here talking about, this isn't even maybe a playoff team, so why would we necessarily expect them to dominate another NFL team? Like that is the tier that they've yet to get to. Maybe they can by the end of this season, and if they do, that would almost mean let's say they do, but then they still miss the playoffs, but they beat the Lions 35-10, and they beat the Saints 28-13. Like, if they miss the playoffs, those two kind of big wins would almost speak as much as kind of reaching the postseason, because the team's not there yet, but it kind of feels like they're on the cusp of that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Absolutely a great point. I think we need to take what they give us and lower our expectations so we don't get upset. So I'm all the way with that.
Awesome, man. You got anything else to say about this game before we get out of here?
Nah, I'm excited to see what's going to happen against the Bucs. I think it's going to be a good game, and this game right here, it's a win. A win is a win is a win. At the end of the day, no one's going to have these conversations when we talk about the Falcons season recap. It's going to be like they won 5 games, they won 6, 7, 8, 9 games, and I'm happy to see this team coming away with those W's, because this could have easily been a loss. We've seen the Falcons play so bad to where they can't even beat the Jaguars, but they mustered up some offense, aka Cordarrelle Patterson, to come out with a win.
Yeah, the Falcons didn't get any brownie points for losing close games last year, and they shouldn't feel bad in any way, shape, or form for winning close games this year. I mean, that's the way the NFL works, and you got to find a way to make the play when you got to make the play and win the game any way, shape, or form. And the Falcons have been able to do that at times this year, and so that all leads us to a really interesting, fun, exciting, maybe potentially scary matchup against Tampa Bay next week. But you get another shot at the top dog. You get another shot at Tom Brady. That'll be exciting. Antonio Brown potentially back. So Ovie and I will record our second podcast of the week later on. It'll be up Friday, and we will be breaking down that matchup. What we saw the first time around, what we expect to change this time around. Until then, you guys can follow us on Twitter at Will McFadden, at Ovie Mughelli 34. You can find us here every week, and please let everybody know now that the Falcons are competitive and the winner is here. It's fun. Football's fun again. It's nice to be talked about, and
winning helps.
Let's hope it continues, man. As always, though, today's episode was presented by BetOnline. Thank you guys so much for listening, and take care.